Welcome back po. Again, welcome to LIRA in Law, broadcasting from London, England, every Thursday between 7:30 and 8:30. Talking about today nga updates on immigration law. But of course, we are going to be dealing with just any kind of law nga gusto yung pag-usapan nga. But today ang topic po natin, dual big topic. And as I said earlier nga, I'm being kept very busy to try to keep up now with changes, with updates. And the two dual topics that we have tonight is changes in the minimum income requirement, which was originally stated in December nga, and the definition of partner. Now, so let's deal with minimum income requirement muna, no? Many of you would know that the current law, so ang batas po ngayon is yung 18,600. So kung kukunin yung asawa nyo nga dito, kung wala kayong mga anak, then the minimum income requirement is 18,600. Now on the 2nd of December, they introduced what they wanted to implement. And at the time, they wanted to increase the limit actually to 38,700. Massive uproar. No? Now they've clarified what they want to do, and sabi nga nila in spring, so it's more likely April rather than next month, which is March. They're looking to increase the minimum income requirement to £29,000. Now, on top of that, they've clarified a number of things. Yun pag-uusapan po natin also ngayon. So, una nga, from about April, I hope rather than March nga, the 18,600, no more. It will then be £29,000. But it's as I've said, they've clarified a few things, which is good news. Okay. Now, any application made before the change, even though the application is then decided after the change has been made, will be dealt with under the new law. So kung pasok yung application nga ngayon, tapos natagalan nga, may delay for whatever reason, tapos nagbago nga yung batas. Contrary to the usual process, ang gagamitin nila 18,600 na pinasok yung application bago nagbagong batas. So that's good news because usually that's not the case. So yun ang una. Pangalawa po, mga bata. So sabi nila, they're not going to add, so at the moment, itong 18,600, yung minimum yun only applies kung wala ang mga bata. Kung meron kayong mga batang dadalhin, they may dagdag kung hindi sila British or indefinite leave to remain. So ibig sabihin, first child is 3,600 on top, and then after that, every child is 2,400 on top. Wala na po yun. So when the law changes, it is one amount. So if it's hindi nga 18,600 plus an amount for a first child, a further amount now for the second child. Ngayon, so from April, they're looking to just have a flat amount. So it would then be 29,000 minimum income requirement, regardless of how many children you coming with you on. Now also clarification again of people who are already in the United Kingdom, because that was a big thing. Sabi na, hang on, kung nandito na ako, tapos ano ba kailangan pakitang income? And some people they may have a problem with satisfying £29,000. Especially kung malayo nga sila. In London, may not even be an issue so much because generally the sweldo nga dito mas mataas ng konti. But if you are outside of London, it may well be that even joint income is not reaching £29,000. So they clarified that too. So sabi nila, kung nandito na kayo, no, ang visa nyo na nga is spouse visa or indeed fiancé visa, nandito na kayo. Ang income na kailangan yung pakita, hindi yung mas mataas kahit nagbago na ang batas, dahil nandito na kayo with a family visa, with a spouse visa or fiancé visa nga, or a partner visa. Ang kailangan yung pakita is the lower amount of 18,600, which again is good news. And that will continue until you get your indefinite leave to remain. So there will be a kind of a two-tier system, mga tao nandito na with the type of visa that with the spouse visa, with the partner visa, or indeed fiancé visa, and those who are coming later. Now, sabihin natin nandito na din nga kayo, but gusto nyong palitan yung visa nyo. So sabihin natin nandito kayo on a work type visa o estudyante nga kayo. But so you want to swap your current visa, say an unemployment, to that of a spouse, pero nagbago na yung batas. Now, ang sabi nila, in that case, it is the higher, it's the new law that applies to you, yung 29,000. So kung kere kayo nga dito, tapos may nobyo kayo, no? Gusto niyo magpakasal nga dito, pero nagbago ng batas. Hindi na yung 18,600, kahit nandito na nga kayo, but rather the higher amount of 29,000 pounds. Okay? So those clarification of the things that worried people nga, yung mga issues, especially kung dito nga ang tao, at least they address those, and hopefully it means nga na it's less of a concern for some people, no? So it's not perhaps as dire, no, as initially nung in-announce nga nila on the 2nd of December. And so from the 2nd of December, it's moved on from potentially 38,700 pounds to 29,000 pounds, to clarification nga of the of treatment of applicants kung nandito na nga kayo. So it's moving in the right direction. And 29,000 is still quite a big amount of money, especially kahit nga joint income, no? Kung nandito na nga kayo, it's a potential still concern, especially if you're living outside or working outside London. But it's better, at least. You know? I do think the clarification was much needed and very welcome, because I have had clients certainly who were very worried. Nalaman nila, so 29,000. Actually, in the very beginning, 38,000 pounds, over 38,700. Sabi nila, there was I don't think I've ever had so many phone calls, no? The following day, because nung nabalitaan nga nila, so in the papers, mga kalayante ko, they were all very worried. I was getting phone calls and emails. So this is very welcome clarification nga. So kung magpapasok nga kayong application, ang payo ko pa rin, even though at the moment hindi pa nga nagbabagong ang batas, ang payo ko, kung magpasok ng application, especially if you're making an application from abroad and you can do it now, do it now. Okay? Do not wait until the law changes. Hindi nga natin alam kung magkakaproblema kayo in relation to income. So if you can, do it now. Now, that's one big topic. Second big topic, and this is actually a welcome change. No, I don't have many of those, unfortunately. We don't have many of those nga in immigration at the moment. Yung mga panibagong ng batas, mainly it gets stricter. It gets more difficult nga. But this is a welcome change, and it's this, no, partners. No? So I would say nowadays, a big chunk, not quite 50%, but coming up to 50%, mga kliyente ko, hindi sila kasal. No? Now, it may not be a problem kung hindi nga kayo kasal dahil meron kayong ebidensya na talaga nagsasama kayo. So at the moment, those people who are looking to apply as partners dahil hindi nga kayo kasal, previously, rather, kailangan yung pakita, the old law was, kailangan yung pakita, you've been living in you're in a relationship akin to marriage, and you have been living together a minimum of 2 years. That is how you define a partner. Now, the good news is, at least I think, and I hope not, it's good news, depends really how it's implemented. They changed that. So let me just read to you, because it's worth certainly reading it, no? And I for you, I printed it out especially. So at the moment nga, current rules, let me just reiterate that, no? Sabi ng batas, a person who has been living together with the applicant in a relationship akin to marriage or civil partnership for the last 2 years prior to the date of the application. That is how a partner, unmarried partner, is defined. So let me just emphasize that, no? A person who has been living together, tapos later on, sabi niya, 2 years. Nagbagong batas, no? the new rules from the 31st of January 2024, so it is only, 2-3 weeks old, no? Sabi dito, it will be now set out as follows. So rather than they took out the living together. So sabi dito, where the couple have been in a relationship similar to marriage or civil partnership for at least 2 years. So the phrase that went away from that is the living together now, which is great news anyway for potentially, depending on how, of course, the Home Office implements it, for people who are already in the United Kingdom, who are not living together for whatever reason. They can't because of hindi pa sila, it's a societal thing, o kaya it's a question of practicalities, but in a relationship akin to marriage. So you are actually, even though you're not living together, your relationship is like a marriage nga. And there are circumstances where that can be the case. Sa Pilipinas po, kung nandun kayo especially sa Pilipinas, and I know one of our viewers who has this question nga, ito, alam naman natin sa Pilipinas, walang divorce. Okay? And I certainly have quite a few clients nga, ang question nila sa akin, well, okay, yung partner ko na umuwi sa Pilipinas, nagkikita nga kami, hindi nga lang kami nagsasama pa, no? And sometimes nga may mga anak pa rin, may mga anak din sila. So clearly in a relationship and also in an existing subsisting relationship. Yung nga lang problema, hindi sila pwedeng magpakasal sa atin dahil yung taong nasa atin, yung applicant nga, kasal, no? And as we all know, from the Philippines nga, walang divorce sa atin. But there's of course annulment. But annulment itself can be quite difficult. I mean, alam nyo din, there are quite strict requirements for annulment. Never mind also the time nga, that it takes. The last I heard, it takes up about 2 years, on average nga. For annulment to from beginning nga to the end. And of course, there's also the issue of cost, and also there's the procedural issue. Which is the psychological aspect nga when you're submitting an annulment petition. So this is how I would wish it to read nga, kung nasa Pilipinas nga kayo. So sabihin natin, nandun kayo sa Pilipinas, meron kayong boyfriend or girlfriend, nandito sila nakatira, for whatever reason, you've not been living together, dahil dito sila nagtatrabaho, nandun kayo sa Pilipinas, hindi pa nga kayo ready nga dati, every 6 months or every year umuwi nga yung partner nyo, meron kayong anak, o indeed even if you don't have children nga, sa Pinas nga, but you are for all intents and purposes in a relationship akin to marriage, like a marriage. So for example, sinusustentuhan kayo, both ways. You are for example living in their house, or you're living with their parents. Meron kayong mga anak, ikaw yung nag-aalaga ng bata. Yung nga lang, you have not been able to, you're not living together the required 2 years until now. And they are British, for example, or indefinite leave to remain na nga dito. And that's always been a difficult situation. In the past, I've advised client, okay, if you don't satisfy it, but what we could do is you can make an application under the exceptional circumstances route. And if you're a practitioner, alam nyo, actually, makalayanti ko nga din, alam nyo, exceptional circumstances, ang hirap, It's very difficult to establish exceptional circumstances. Hindi naman imposible, but it is not an easy route to undertake. Now, this, I hope at least, will take that away. Dahil nga, let me just read to you again, yung panibagong batas. So this is applicable as of the 31st of January, so only 2-3 weeks old nga. Where the couple, so a partner, is where the couple have been in a relationship similar to marriage or civil partnership for the last 2 years. You don't have to be living together, at least according to this. Of course, kung nagsasama nga kayo, even better. Kung meron kayong ebidensya nga na talagang nagsasama kayo. Pero kung hindi nga kayo nagsasama, pero yung sitwasyon nyo nga is pretty much a marriage, So nasa Pilipinas nga kayo, so typically nasa Pilipinas nga kayo, at meron kayong asawa nga dati, you've not been able to get an annulment, and there's of course no divorce nga sa atin, but you want to enter the United Kingdom as the partner of your British partner nga dito, someone who says settled status in the UK, and your relationship nyo has been ongoing for a minimum of 2 years. Not living together, but you have been ongoing, your relationship nyo 2 years plus. No? Then this new law would allow you to enter the United Kingdom if they are minded to apply it in the spirit, I think, in the spirit that it's been, I think, changed. So it could be yung Home Office. I mean, it's very new. I've not actually had a case yet where I've submitted an application na ganito ang sitwasyon nga nila. But I must say, I am making those representations now. And so I have certainly existing applications where I've said, well, okay, hindi nagsasama yung kliyente ko, tsaka yung sponsor nga niya, but they have clearly been in a relationship akin to marriage, like a civil partnership, a minimum of 2 years. Now, anong ebidensyang pinapakita ko? So, for example, it would be things like kung meron kayong bank account, kung nandun kayo sa Pilipinas, siguro meron kayong joint account. Siguro nagpapadala siya sa atin, kayong gumagamit nga sa Pilipinas. Kung nakatira kayo, ang bahay nyo joint names. O kaya yung bahay nyo, yung kuryente, yung tubig, ganon, nanggagaling nga, kayo nagbabayad, pero ang bayad nga nanggagaling dun sa account nyo. O better yet, kung meron nga kayong anak. It doesn't matter how many. Okay? So, and mapapakita nyo from that evidence ng relationship nyo being ongoing a minimum of 2 years. So the 2 years is still applicable. Yung nga lang, the thing that was, if you like, changed, is the living together. So it potentially helps you. Kung nasa Pilipinas nga kayo, you can't get a divorce. There's no divorce sa Pinas. And you can't get an annulment for whatever reason. This potentially helps you. It takes away the need for making an application under the exceptional circumstances, which truly ito. I'm sure it will be used. I mean, I'm certainly beginning to use it now in relation to applications in the United Kingdom. Where in the past, itong 2 years living together presented my clients with massive issues. But now, this is something I must say takes front and center where those circumstances, the circumstances are nandito nga kayo, hindi nga lang kayo nagsasama dahil I also have a lot of clients nga nandito sila sa London, yung kliyente ko. Pero yung asawa nila o yung partner nila, I should say, partner nila in Yorkshire, dahil nandun nga yung bahay niya. Pero nagkikita sila lagi. Pagka day off ng kliyente ko, living in siya maybe, pag day off niya, umuwi siya sa Yorkshire, o pagka day off yung partner niya, pupunta siya sa London. So it is a relationship akin to marriage, Holidays, they do it together, they share resources, they have a joint account, yung nga lang hindi sila nagsasama. And this hopefully will change that. But truly itong bagong batas, I think it will be substantially helpful if you are applying it from the Philippines, because Philippines, of course, is one of the few countries, if not, I'm not sure whether it's the only country also where there's no divorce, which does not then allow, of course, remarriage, kung nandun nga kayo sa Pilipinas. And this hopefully cures that problem. So it is a huge potential, because of course ang mga bagong batas, it's one thing when they announce changes, but it's another thing to implement it. So at the moment it's so new, hindi pa rin natin alam how is the Home Office treating this. I've certainly made submissions on this basis, pero wala pa silang sagot, and I'll keep you up to date as soon as I get my first application where this issue has come about. Because since it was introduced on the 31st of January, I probably submitted where this issue came about. Siguro 6 to 10 applications. So it is something that I am using extremely regularly, no? So I'm quite looking forward to see kung anong gagawin ng Home Office, anong sasabihin nila. Are they going to insist kind of to seeing people living together? Of course, kung nagsasama nga kayo, then even better. And kung meron kayong mga dokumento nagsasama nga kayo, then of course you should submit those. Yung nga lang, kung hindi kayo nagsasama, and there's also no possibility, no realistic way of living together, especially kung nandun kayo sa Pilipinas, no? And nandito nga yung partner nyo. And so it's every 6 months umuwi siya, or every 1 year umuwi siya, dahil mahal nga din pamasahe sa atin. Then it could be that this is exactly what you need in order to satisfy the partner route. So ibig sabihin, application nyo would be under the partner route. So ang makukuha yung visa, kung makalusot kayo dito, is akin to, or very similar to the spouse visa. So that would be 2.5 years. During that time, pwede kayo magtrabaho nga dito. You need another 2.5 years. Pagka 5 taon na kayo dito as a partner, that means spouse or partner, as in as someone who has had a relationship for 2.5 years. Doesn't have to be living together nowadays as of the 31st of January. Kung yun ang sitwasyon nyo, ang bisang bibigay sa inyo, 2.5 years nga din. Pag 5 years na nga kayo dito, pwede na kayo magpasok ng application for indefinite leave to remain. That's kind of a very simplistic way of putting it, but there are quite a lot more conditions, hindi nga lang yun. But this means nga that it may take away this headache of having to see, okay, annulment nga. Kung hindi nga annulment, and then, of course, kung nag-petition nga kayo annulment, hindi naman basta-basta. It usually means you have to wait until it's finished. And last I heard, it takes about 2 years, average, Hindi maximum, but average 2 years. That's a long time to be apart. And in that 2 years, lots of things can happen. Of course, pwede kayo magkaanak, And it's a shame that if the child can't be in the United Kingdom, hindi ka, dahil naiwan ka nga sa Pilipinas, So, it is, I think the change, this change nga, may well help an awful lot of people, especially nga kung nandun kayo sa Pilipinas and you're in a situation where you can't get divorced, walang divorce nga sa atin, but you can't also get an annulment. It could be that this means na you don't necessarily need now an annulment because nga of this change. So it is again a massive potential, because of course depends nga kung anong gagawin ng Home Office. Sometimes may panibagong batas and then they don't actually apply it perhaps in the spirit that it's meant to be. So I'm hoping na yung nga they will apply it in the spirit it's meant to be applied, and it helps nga those people who are clearly in a genuine relationship more than 2 years, akin to marriage, yung nga lang hindi sila nagsasama. So watch this space, because I would as soon as I get nga any decisions based on this, where this issue has come about, I will let you know, because I am certainly excited to see how it's going to be applied nga by the Home Office. So big things happening nga in immigration, and it's exciting. Is probably, I don't know what's exciting necessarily is the description for immigration at the moment, but it's really busy. From the end of December, well, actually in the last 2-3 years, it's been quite. The changes have been monumental. But certainly in the last siguro 12 months. Last 6 months, and heck, last 2 months, from December, from just before Christmas, 2nd of December, one thing after another, and it's continuing. And of course, there's this change that's coming about in April. Pero hindi lang po yun, marami din nagbabagong batas, and one of our viewers actually asked a brilliant question about visitor visas, And again, it's a big topic. So that's one of the things na pag-uusapan nga natin mamaya, So it is it truly is incredibly busy po ngayon, no, in immigration. Now, gosh, take a breath, Lyra, no? You probably noticed I'm so excited to impart nga these changes. Sometimes not great changes, but sometimes nga, especially the last change, the definition of a partner is potentially a great change, hopefully. Now, okay, so now that I've have probably overwhelmed you, with our two big topics. Let's kind of let's go to my favorite part of of this of the show, which is the batihan. For those of you who are regular.